powerful, esteemed young women. It's always inspiring to meet women like you who are so driven, working towards a cause, especially a social cause. Yeah. So seeing Hindu women like this always warms my heart. And I think we've been learning this from our itihas. Our women characters, our women heroines, if I may, from our shastras, from our itihas, have been extremely powerful. Unlike what we are sometimes made to believe. Yeah, हमको लगता है कि अरे वो बेचारी, अरे उनके साथ अत्याचार हुआ, ये वो, अरे life is not fair. But within that, how did some of these women ancestors of ours, if I may say, behaved is something for all of us to learn from and all of us to really tread that path on. And I think understanding our itihas for what it is was one of the driving factors for me to go back to Mahabharata and read Mahabharata for what it is rather than believe what was told to us by a lot of things that are written about Mahabharata. Now, is there anything wrong in different books that are written about Mahabharata? Absolutely not. The difference, though, is this. A lot of what gets written about Mahabharata is usually fiction. Yeah. And they call it fiction. It is the issue with the readers that we sometimes tend to accept a lot of these things as facts. Achha, so what is the problem in that? Right? The problem is this, that it completely screws up our thinking. We know the consequences which happened with certain characters in Mahabharata. Now, if those characters are deified, are heroified through fiction, what happens is there is an eternal confusion in our head. What is the right thing to do? What is dharma? क्योंकि जब हम महाभारत की बात करते हैं, why is Mahabharata important? Was it just any other war? There were lots of wars that were fought. But are all wars called Dharma Yuddha? No. Are all texts called itihas? No. Right? Then what is it about Ramayana and Mahabharata that they are called itihas? What is it about these wars that are they are called Dharma Yuddha and not others? Right? So one of the key inquiries with which I started studying, it was more a swadhyay for me to understand. The idea was never to write a book. I think that was just a consequence, but it was more to understand what is this dharma all about to begin with, right? Religion कहते हैं, but is dharma just religion? Because we use dharma in a lot of context. So before I know the topic for today is Draupadi, but I think understanding the very concept of dharma and understanding the very concept of itihas is important for us to even appreciate the amazing legacy, the amazing itihas that has been left to us in the form of Ramayana and Mahabharata. So itihas, if I can start with that, there is a definition, very clear definition given. You know, we think of it as mythology. We are told it's a story. We are told it's fiction. No, it is not a mythology. It is not just a belief system. It is itihas, as has been classified by our rishis. What is itihasa? Itihasa, so it was. Aisa tha, aisa hua tha. That is itihas. And what is the definition of itihas? The definition says, Dharma artha kama mokshanam upadesham samanvitam purva vrittam kathayuktam itihasam prachakshate. Purva vrittam, something that happened in the past. Kathayuktam, it is told in a story format. Why? Because it's easy to propagate, it's easy to understand, but something that had happened in the past. And what was the purpose? There is always a purpose. The purpose was not just documentation, which was also one of the objectives, but not the only objectives. The objective was to leave the people of Bharat, to leave the Sanatanis with the message of Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, what we call Purushartha, the way of living a fruitful life, the four aspects of living a fruitful life, which we can call Purushartha. To teach us about Purushartha. Now we say कि अरे इतने सारे पुस्तक हैं, वेद है, ये है, वो है, सारे ज्ञान जो है वो तो पुरुषार्थ का ही ज्ञान है. What is so different about इतिहास? So here's the thing. हम लोग एक theory करते हैं, and the other is case study. Theory is good. We understand theory, but we don't always know how to implement that theory. In itihas, that theory is actually implemented. How do you live your dharma? The dharma concept actually comes to life in itihas. When we see how conflicts happen, how different priorities for a person are conflicted, how to define or decide within those conflicting priorities. And that, my dear girls, is what is Dharma Sankata. But before understanding Dharma Sankata, let's understand what is Dharma. Again, the definition of Dharma given is Dharanat Dharmiti Ahu. Dharmo Dharayati Praja. Yah Syat Dharana Sayuktam Sah Dharma iti Nishchayah. Yah Syat Prabhava Sayuktam Sah Dharma iti Nishchayah. Dharanat Dharmiti Ahu. One that upholds, one that sustains. That is Dharma, the overarching principle that ensures the continuity of the system. In our case, the society, could be the family, could be the state, could be the Rashtra. That overarching principle that ensures that the Rashtra survives, that the system survives, is Dharma. Dharmo Dharayati Praja. It is because of this Dharma principle that people are sustained. Dharanat Dharmiti Ahu Dharmo Dharayati Praja. Yah Syat Dharana Sayuktam. Only that which sustains and upholds. That is indeed Dharma. What does it mean sustains and upholds? कोई चीज थोड़ी है धर्म कि हम देख पाए और कहे हाँ अच्छा ये चीज अपने को सस्टेन करेगी. नहीं. Dharma is the collective behavior of all stakeholders that make up that system, that make up that samaj. आप मैं हर चीज आप देख लो, आप पंच महाभूत से देख लो, प्राणी देख लो, हम देख लो. We all are a part of a system, and to ensure that the system works the way it does, and that we all prosper and grow and survive and thrive, depends on how हम अपना रोल कैसे निभाते हैं इस सिस्टम में. हाउ डू वी लिव आवर रोल्स इन द सिस्टम, हाउ डू वी लिव आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज इन द सिस्टम. आजकल अगर देखें तो वी ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट राइट्स, वी टॉक अबाउट अ राइट बेस्ड सोसाइटी. अरे बट राइट्स आया कहां से? राइट्स हैव टू बी अर्नड. फर्स्ट यू हैव टू बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल टुवर्ड्स द सोसाइटी एंड देन डिटरमाइन एंड देन आस्क फॉर योर राइट्स. So dharma principle is that, dharma behavior is that which ensures that the society should thrive and live and should survive and thrive, not just survive but also thrive, right? हमको लगता है sustainability is a new concept. No. Sustainability is dharma, dharma is sustainability. Any action that allows sustenance is dharmic. Any action that does not allow sustenance is adharmic. So when we make a blanket statement like ahimsa, yes, ahimsa is important. Yes, non-violence is important. अगर एक दूसरे को सब मारने लगे तो sustenance नहीं होगा. परंतु एक criminal who's out there to harm the system, who's out there to harm the people of the system, अगर उसको चला लिया, if he or she is not punished, even that is himsa. Why is that himsa? Because that behavior is actually propagating, it's going to inspire more people to work in a way that is detrimental to the society, and then the society will collapse, right? And why am I saying all that? What is the relevance of that today? Actually, the relevance of that today is even more, because we are so confused about sahi kya hai, galat kya hai. That is why when a TV reporter tells us, अरे बेचारा ये terrorist तो headmaster का बच्चा था, हमारा दिल ऐसे द्रवित हो जाता है कि अरे बेचारा क्यों उसको फांसी देना चाहिए. We talk about ahimsa. Why should we do violence by killing him? Let him go. He did wrong. Should we also do wrong? No, but allowing him to live is one, encouraging more such terrorists which are going to harm the society and destroy it in the long run. Hence, to have this clarity that what is right and what is not, understanding dharma and understanding from lives of our ancestors the way it was told to us by Vyasa's Mahabharata is important. And that was essentially the premise of the book Mahabharata Unraveled. So there are lots of things in there which do not agree with the usual teleserials that you see, because that is what Vyasa's Mahabharata has. Very clear definition of what is right, what is wrong. हमको कई बार कहा जाता है कि अरे हम कोई there is a lot of gray, right, wrong, पता नहीं, and Hinduism में सब चलता है. नहीं. In fact, we have a very clear definition of what is right, what is wrong. Dharmic, adharmic. That which helps sustain is dharmic. That which does not, that which destroys a system, not individual, that is adharmic. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm just giving this background. Let's come to Draupadi now. Yeah. Now, what is it about Pandavas and Draupadi and people on their side? Their behaviors were always such which were inclined towards ensuring that the parivar that they came from, that the rashtra that they came from, survived and thrived. Whereas the other side was adharmic. Why? Because their actions were such that they were not only self-destroying, but they were destroying the parivar, the rashtra that they came from. Okay. Now, every person, the system can only be successful when every single person lives their dharma, as I said, right? And what are these different dharmas? If you're a part of the family, if I'm a part of the family, I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. So I have a matru dharma, I have a putri dharma, I have a wife dharma, patni dharma. Similarly, somebody else has a pita dharma, putra dharma, pati dharma, all of that, right? Now, how do you navigate? Sometimes these dharmas come in conflict. Then how do you navigate? Especially now bringing in the other aspect. Somebody is also king. And what is the Raj Dharma? How does the Raj Dharma stake against a Pita Dharma? And what should take priority? Very clearly, what did Dhritarashtra do? He forgot his Raj Dharma. He only focused on Putra Dharma. That led to the destruction of everything. What did Duryodhan do? He forgot every Dharma. He focused only on Swadharma. And not even Dharma. He just focused on what I want. What is my Kam? Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. Wo usi mein fas gaya. No dharma there at all, right? And that is why it led to destruction of everybody. So what was Draupadi's dharma in all of that? Draupadi was a wife, Draupadi was a queen, Draupadi was a mother as well. Typically what we know about Draupadi is, she is always very angry. She is the one who first said, Karna se shadi nahi karungi. That created rift. Then she said, Andhe ka putra andha. That created more rift, and because she said Andhe ka putra andha, obviously Duryodhan was very upset, and because of that, we are told that the war happened. So a lot of times people tend to believe that the war happened because Draupadi said Andhe ka putra andha. One very big myth. Draupadi's character is such that she can never say something like that. Her awareness of her dharma as a queen, as a wife, is so high up there that she is incapable of making such trivial statements. But that apart, was the war because of anything she said? No, she doesn't say this is the first thing. But the enmity went far back, right? Shadi nahi hui thi, uske pehle ki baat hai, jab Lakshagraha incident hua tha. Lakshagraha mein there was no Draupadi. Why did the Kauravas try to burn Pandavas there, right? So the enmity went beyond there. So of course, she never said anything like that. The other thing we are told is that she was always angry. She always wanted revenge. She said, "Ki mujhe khoon la ke do, I'll wash my hair with Dushyasan's blood. Only then I'll be happy." Again, of course, she's angry at what happened. Of course, she wants justice, but she's not crazy like this to say, "Ki nahi, mujhe lahu la ke do. I want to comb my hair with it." No, because again, why I'm saying this? Her understanding of her dharma as a wife, both as a wife and a queen, is high up there, right? So she doesn't say that. That is also a myth. This does not come anywhere in Mahabharata. But what comes in Mahabharata that we rarely talk about, that is the role which Draupadi plays as the queen of Hastinapur. We know of her, we typically know about how the Vastraharan happened, right? Which then we are told, अरे बेचारी लड़कियों के साथ तो हमेशा ऐसे होता है, पति ने उसको दांव पे लगा दिया, उसका वस्त्रहरण हुआ, बेचारी, and our whole story about women is बेचारी. But was that the case? Not at all. Let's start with this role of Draupadi as a queen, and maybe also talk about some of the other incidents in her life. So this discussion happens when Draupadi is in the Vanvas with the Pandavas. And Satyabhama and Krishna come to visit them. Okay, and Satyabhama and Draupadi start talking. And Satyabhama is like, what is this that you have done to the Pandavas? The Pandavas are in love with you. They are always in your vasha. They are controlled by you. They're always looking at you with so much love. They do whatever you tell them to do. So you have control over these 5 husbands of yours. I can't even manage one husband of mine. So tell me, what is this Vashikaran mantra that you have? Satyabhama asks Draupadi. क्या वशीकरण मंत्र है आपके पास जिससे आप पांचे के पांचों पांडवों को अपने वश में कर रखा है? And Draupadi smiles and she says, there is no Vashikaran mantra. Things don't work that way. But yes, Pandavas do respect me. But they respect me not because of my Vashikaran mantra. They respect me because how I live my life as the wife, as the daughter-in-law, and as the mother, and as the queen of Hastinapur. And this is called Draupadi Satyabhama Samvad. And Draupadi goes on to explain all that she did as the queen of Hastinapur. She would wake up before everybody else woke up. She would sleep after everybody else slept. She would take care of the smallest of the things in the royal household. Now, when I say royal household, sirf apna parivar to nahi hai. In the royal household, they would have like 80,000 Brahmins who would come to eat every day. They would give patronage to about 1 lakh brahmachari, students. There would be others who would keep coming. There would be people who were disabled who would get food every day for free in the royal household. There were guests who would keep coming. Now, to take care of all this, there were some thousands of servants, maids who would come, who were employed in the palace. Draupadi knew everybody by name. She ensured that whatever need to be done, whoever need to be fed, all that was taken care of. And even the helpers who came, even the employees who came, they were taken care of. She knew what work was done, what work is pending, and she ensured that whatever was done, whatever had to be done, was done properly. More than that, she knew, she claims this, she says, I was the only one who had complete insight into what is the treasury of Indraprastha. As the queen of Indraprastha, I was the only one who had complete view of the treasury, because everybody else had parts of the insight into treasury, what they looked at. I had the complete overview. Whenever Yudhishthir went out to meet other kings or on an expedition, I would ensure, I would keep a track of how many horses went with him, how many raths went with him, how many Sainiks went with him, what kind of materials he needs to take, what kind of treasury, what kind of wealth he's taking with him. So I knew what nobody else knew. In that sense, Draupadi was actually the chief operating officer of the entire royal household. And when I say royal household, it is not just the 5 of them. It's like the entire kingdom, so to say. Yeah, that kind of role she played. हमको लगता है केवल ऑफिस में जाना है इस काम नहीं. Things are different. So this is the role which Draupadi played, because of which the Pandavas really looked up to her and respected her. And there is one instance when actually Yudhishthir says that a Purush yadrishi striyam dharma artha kamartha siddhim icchet narah. A man, the kind of wife a man expects to live his grahastha life in a worthwhile manner, in a most fulfilling manner, Draupadi is that kind of a stree. She's that kind of a wife. She's an ideal wife, and not just an ideal wife, she's also an ideal queen, and she's also an ideal woman. Let's take another example where Draupadi knows what her role is, where she knows how much as the queen, how much rights she has, how much responsibility she has. And this, I go back to the Vastraharan episode. Yeah, there is a lot of discussion that can be done on the Vastraharan episode, but let's leave it for now. Let's look at the behavior of Draupadi herself. She went through so much trauma. The whole episode that happened, I wish it doesn't happen to anybody ever. That kind of trauma, that is what she went through. Eventually, when she was angry and there were these bad omens, like jackals were howling, and there was different, like, lots of crows were howling and all of that. And Dhritarashtra, because of prodding of Vidur and Gandhari, became very afraid. By then, Bhim had also declared that he's going to kill his sons and all of that, yeah, the Duryodhana and Dushasan. So now Dhritarashtra was really scared, and he says, no, let's stop this. And Draupadi, you are like a daughter to me. You ask me what you want to ask. I will give you whatever you wish. Okay, so Draupadi, and he says, so you ask me for a wish. So Draupadi is fine. My husbands have been enslaved by you, especially Yudhishthir has been enslaved by you. So you free him of slavery. Dasatva se mukt karo unhe. Because I don't want that my son, my oldest son, Prathivindya, who actually will take over as the king after Yudhishthira of Indraprastha, I don't want the Dasatva thappa on him. So please free Yudhishthir from Dasatva. Dhritarashtra says, fine, I'll free him. Ask me for more. Then she says, fine, I'll ask you one more. You free all my husbands, all other 4 husbands from Dasatva, and give them their weapons back. Shastra unke lauta do. Dhritarashtra is like, given. I'll lot out all the shastras. Ask me more. This lady could have asked for the entire Indraprastha to be given back, right? Which they had lost. And Dhritarashtra would have given that away. But she doesn't ask. She says, no, I know that as a warrior queen, as a Kshatrani, I am allowed 2 such wishes. Anything more than that will be greed. I do not wish to fall into this trap of a greed, because I have full confidence that my husbands are capable enough of taking back what is rightfully theirs with their shaurya and their virya. That is not my job. This was my job. This is my responsibility. I fulfilled it. I will not transgress this, falling into this greed. Lobh ke moh maya mein padkar main isse zyada kuch nahi mangungi. Now let them show their virya. Let them show their shaurya and take back what is theirs. This is my limit, and I have asked what is my limit. Now imagine in this kind of trauma, to have this clarity of thought कि मेरा धर्म क्या है जो मैं ट्रांसग्रेस नहीं कर सकती. 1. Second, going beyond this would have also meant that आज के दिन तक there would be a thappa on the head of the Pandavas saying that they couldn't do anything. They lost. They had to be saved by their wife, and there is no शूरवीरता, right? हार गए और ऐसे करके डरा वो, क्योंकि धृतराष्ट्र डर गया तो सब वापस दे दिया, right? What about their purushartha? That would have never happened, and she would not let that kind of ignominy come on her husband. And at that time, Karna, who was actually the one who instigates Dushasan to disrobe Draupadi. Karna is one of the vilest character in Mahabharata. Unlike what lots of fictional stories and even Mahabharata, the television serials make him out to be. He's one of the vilest characters. He's the only character who actually calls Draupadi prostitute. Bandiki, he calls her. Anyways, don't want to go astray. So even he says that she came like a nauka. The Pandavas were drowning. She came like a nauka and saved them. Yeah. So this is the lady. This is the kind of the lady who knows what her responsibilities are, who knows what her rights are, who knows her dharma, and she lives her dharma. You get that view even when she's in the forest. Of course, she wants revenge. Yeah. And it hurts her that Pandavas sometimes are not doing much. So she gives them a discourse on what is karma and dharma also. She quotes from Manusmriti. She was that learned. She was that learned. She knew what the whole, many times she quotes dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. She says that it doesn't matter whether we succeed or fail in our endeavors, because not everything is in our hands. What is in our hands is to do the karya karna hamare haath mein hai. Karma karna hamare haath mein hai. And whether we succeed or fail, we will never know unless we start. So even while you are here, don't become lax, don't slack in your responsibility. Remember that at some point you have to get your kingdom back. And she would inspire the Pandavas to do that. At one point, Yudhishthir says, "Arey, no, one should not be angry, or one should forgive," something like that, Yudhishthir says. And she says, "No, you cannot always just forgive. You have to show that you can also be angry, because only then people will respect you. There can't just be one way of dealing with things." So Yudhishthir goes and he tries to explain her even more. And she says, "Vilapishami, I will do vilap. I will talk about this. And you better listen to me. You are my husband. If I'm telling you something, if I'm upset about something and telling you something, sumanasva, with a good mind, with a nice mind, listen to me, because you should listen to me as my husband." That also wo kehne se bhi wo katrati nahi hai. She knows even there what her rights are. She is a lady who speaks up when she has to, rightfully so. And she also knows when to stop. She also knows where not to transgress. That is why in the end, when 5 of her sons are killed by Ashwathama, her sons are killed by Ashwathama, this lady is of course, extremely upset. Just imagine, माँ का दिल तो सोचो, 5 बच्चे एक साथ वॉर में नहीं मरे, but deception के कारण अश्वत्थामा ने वॉर के बाद जाके उनको मारा. And she says, I want revenge. So of course, all the 5 Pandavas with Krishna go and to kill, to basically punish Ashwatthama. But they come back saying that we've taken away the money from his head. We've left him a scar over there, which will fester all the time. But we did not kill him because he's our guru's son. War mein marta to alag baat hai. But now punishing, we cannot give him Mrityu Danda because he's our guru's son. And she says, I understand. He's your guru's son. He's also my guru's son. I wanted him to be punished. You have done that. And I'm going to be happy with that. And she becomes Swastha. And after that, in spite of losing everybody, she again lives her life, fulfills all her responsibilities as the queen of Hastinapur at that time. Yeah, as long as she lives, taking care even of the widows of the Kauravas who were left back, taking care of even Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. That is Draupadi. That is an empowered woman who knows when to speak, who knows what her limits are, but and never shirks her responsibility. Yeah. And like Draupadi, every character that you see in Mahabharata, every woman character, छोटे से छोटे आप हिडिंबा भी ले लो या उलूपी भी ले लो, who come in a very short year, all those characters are extremely empowered. They speak their mind, they make their decisions, they make themselves heard, but they do it within that framework of Dharma, ensuring that the system that they are a part of doesn't collapse, but stays together. So, am I doing good on time? Then maybe I'll stop here and ask questions.
So, अभी सिर्फ 25 मिनट हुए हैं.
Okay. 25 minutes. I think we can still open up for questions. So the Draupadi part is done. I can start talking about others as well. I can talk about Kunti, another very powerful character. Hidimba, I said. There's another very good character. Let me talk about her. I mean, I could go on for Draupadi. Achha, maybe one thing on the myth. There is a myth saying that Draupadi had a liking for Karna. Many places you will read that. Yeah. Absolutely wrong. As I said, Karna, there is nobody in entire Mahabharata who has insulted Draupadi the way Karna has. So, no, there is no love angle over there. Abhikshita says, please talk about Karna. So, Karna is an interesting character in Mahabharata. Yeah, and if I start talking about Karna, it would be another hour. But let me leave you with this. In the beginning of Mahabharata, Vedvyas ji has given a simile, has given an analogy for both Yudhishthir and Duryodhan. He says, Yudhishthir is a tree of Dharma, the the root of which is Krishna, the skandha, the trunk of which is Arjun, and then everything else, everybody else is a part of that. For Duryodhan, he says, he's a manyamaya vriksha, anger, passion, rage. He's that kind of a vriksha. What is the mool of that vriksha? Dhritarashtra, who has fostered this vriksha to become what he has. And what is holding that vriksha together? That is not allowing him to change. Karna is the skandha. Karna is the trunk of this manyamaya tree called Duryodhan. Why is Vyasji saying that? Because Karna is that one person who has never allowed Duryodhan to even think about peace. Everybody else would say कि नहीं आप जो कर रहे हो गलत है. Why are you doing this? You have your own kingdom. Hastinapur है ना. They are not taking anything away from you. Why are you doing this? But it was just anger of Duryodhan coupled with Karna's hatred. Actually, Karna's insecurity about his own self that led to this whole war. His own boastful ego, where he thought I am the best of all, but none of his actions actually showed or gave a proof of what he was. Was he a bad warrior? No. Was he the best? Again, no. Was he of a low caste, as we are made to believe? I hate calling it low caste or high caste or whatever. Again, no. Was he denied education by the Dronacharya? No, he was a student of Dronacharya. He wanted to learn the Brahmastra and to learn, and when because he wanted to defeat Arjun, even as a student. And Dronacharya says, no, you're not right. You're not ready for that yet. I won't teach you. So he says, fine, then I'll find some other guru. And he goes away. And Dronacharya says, fine, yeah, go away. So throughout Mahabharata, you see that Karna is very consistent in his behavior actually. And that behavior is adharmic in the sense that it keeps provoking Duryodhan to always make the wrong decision. Even in his life, he has always made the wrong decision. And he was extremely boastful. None of his boasts, his bragging complied with his own action when he had to do it. When it came to doing, he could never prove himself. So anyways, love to hear about Kunti. Then, ma'am, as you said, there are many myths spreading among people about Draupadi, like she was the reason for the fight. What do you think? What do you think these are spreading? Why? I'll come to Kunti. Before that, I'll take this. So I'll tell you what. These are spreading because people are writing fiction. They are not claiming it as itihas. We think because we don't know what is in Mahabharata, we assume those to be true and then we talk about it. Right? So they have very clearly said that this is fiction that we are writing. We are writing mythological fiction genre. How do you create masala, right? Everybody wants masala. Everybody wants gossip. And it's not as if some of these manyata or myths are created now. No. Some of them have gone back like 2000 years. Some of them even done in a good intention because the purpose was different. And I'll give you another example. So there is this character of Shakuntala in Mahabharata, who is the mother of Bharat, जिससे Bharat Vangsha ये नाम आया है. So Bharat was the ancestor of the Pandavas and Kauravas, right? His mother was Shakuntala. If you read the way Kalidas describes Shakuntala, you get that impression that she's arey bichari, hamesha, she's dukhi and in the prem ras, in the viraha ras. But the Shakuntala in actual Mahabharata, her character is very different, very feisty. When Dushyant refuses to recognize her, you should see the dialogue. She does, again, like Draupadi, she has fulfilled her responsibility as a mother. And she does not back down when now she is being insulted by Dushyant. In the full palace of Dushyant, she talks to him. She tells him what is the role of a husband towards his wife. She tells him how wrong he is and what he's doing is completely wrong. She does not give up till eventually Dushyant agrees. Yeah? So very, very feisty. One who lives her dharma and expects that the right thing should happen. Now, was Kalidas necessarily trying to give a twist or spread a rumor or something like that? No. Kalidas's focus was Viraharas. He was writing a natya which appeals to people within the rules of how natyas are written, right? So from that time, some of this is happening. From that time, people will say, "Acha, chalo, Duryodhan ke dimag mein kya chal raha hoga? Let's try and imagine that and create a story." Right? So it is not the writers that's an issue. It is the readers. We have forgotten reading our own shastras. We think fiction padhenge to humko pata chal jayega. So I wouldn't even blame anybody. I would just say, wo bhi padho, but come back and read what is ours. Read Mahabharata. Yeah. And to begin with, I would also say, why not just start with Mahabharata Unraveled? You will get the bits and pieces of what Mahabharata has. And my purpose is that at least people should go back, should be inspired enough to read Mahabharata for what it is. So definitely do that. Let's not try and find बाकी लोग ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं. हम क्या कर सकते हैं to ensure that we don't fall into the trap. On Kunti. So Kunti again is a extremely strong character. She is one lady who has faced issues after issues after issues in her life. Right? She gets married. Immediately after, Madri के साथ शादी हो जाती है पांडु की. Then immediately after, they go to the forest. Forest में क्या होता है? The whole incident happens where Pandu is cursed by the rishi. Now at this point, they don't even have any kids. So this lady who was actually first though she was also जैसे कर्ण का हम कहते हैं ना that he grew up in another family. Kunti का भी ऐसे ही था. She was born to somebody, Shursen. She was born in the Yadav family and then given away to Kunti Bhoj because Kunti Bhoj did not have any kids at that point. So she also grew up in a foster father's place. वहां से this whole thing, she became a young mother. How? Just out of curiosity. उसने तो अच्छा काम किया था. Durvasa Rishi की सेवा करके. She didn't know that something like this would happen just out of her curiosity, but it happened, right? So that happened. Then this whole Pandu thing happened. from a palace, she goes and lives in a forest, and then she lives in a forest only for so many years till Pandu dies, right? Even within that, she brings up her the three sons of hers and two sons of Madri. She comes back to Hastinapur. Life is not easy. Again and again and again, there is threat of life to her sons. But she stays on, does what is good for her own kids. She's become a widow very young, right? Even after that, again and again, she sees that her sons are not allowed to live happily by the Kauravas. Kuch bhi ho jaye. Eventually, they get Indraprastha. Some years of peace. Again, kya hota hai? Her children are banished. Her daughter-in-law is insulted the way she does, and she cannot do anything. All she can do is live the way she's living. Then this own son of hers, Karna, hates her other son. Nothing told to him changes his mind, right? Karna hates Arjun. Again, she sees this fight go on between two of her sons. The war happens eventually. The war happens, and of course, a lot of it is lost. Her own grandsons die. But before that, there is this episode. So before the war actually happens, right? Kunti also doesn't really want the war to happen because she knows it will lead to destruction of the family where she comes from. But there is this whole passage where Krishna comes to Kunti, and before the war has to begin, and he asks Kunti, do you have a message for Yudhishthir? And Kunti gives this long message about how Yudhishthir must know what is Raj Dharma, and always seeking peace is not Raj Dharma. Dharma, as I said, is the one who must be punished. If he is not punished, then that is adharma. Punishing the one who is a criminal, it is dharma. And their peace, by just talking about peace, you don't fulfill your Raj Dharma. As a king, it is your responsibility to ensure your people are living in prosperity, which by losing Indraprastha, Yudhishthira had lost, right? So she reminds him of all those dharmas, giving an example of Vidula and Sanjay. She inspires Yudhishthira to go out and fight and get what is rightfully his, knowing fully well that it's not going to come at no cost. She loses all her grandsons. ये सब होता है. Eventually, her sons win. Peace prevails. But after 15 years only, when Dhritarashtra and Gandhari want to go out, because they are never at peace, they had lost everything, right? She keeps doing their seva even after that. And when they leave, she also leaves with them. Bhima is like, you inspired us to fight. Now, finally, when there is peace, finally, when you have some respite, finally, some luxury has come your way, you are throwing up everything and going away. And she says, I did not ask you to fight for me. I have lived my life. You must fight because that is your dharma, that is your Kshatriya dharma, to ensure that dharma prevails and not adharma. That is the reason why I made you to do what you did. Not because I wanted to live in luxury. My dharma is taking care of my elders. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari are my elders. Taking care of that is my dharma, and I will do that till the last day of my life. And this lady leaves everything behind and walks away with Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. Yeah. So that is the character of Kunti. It is so beautiful that हमको लगता है कि बाप रे, we say कि अरे कर्ण के साथ नाइंसाफी हुई, कर्ण के साथ इतना problems हुआ, इसके साथ इतना problems हुआ. But if there's one lady who has faced difficulties again and again and again and still never forgotten what her dharma is, done what is the right thing, that is actually Kunti.
Yeah, so that was a very insightful talk. I am sure it will ignite the interest of a lot of us in this topic to learn more.